What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. You guys are probably reading the title. You guys have probably seen the rumors all over Twitter. Is this legit? Is it not? We are going to get into that. But if you guys are new to this channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. I know there's a ton of people that aren't subscribed. I would greatly appreciate a like and a sub on this video. Lots of Leafs talk on here, lots of content, lots of live streams. Basically anything you could think of, and I love recommendations, so make sure to recommend it down below. But David Pagnotta started up some rumors. He has sources, guys. I know there's some people that are on him, but some people forget he broke the Tavares signing. Like, he was the first one to talk about it. He was the one that got the contract details. He's broken trades and signings before. I'm not saying that Gabriel Landeskog to the Toronto Maple Leafs is like a concrete, like, oh, this could really happen. Because in my eyes, there's a few things that I'm looking at. First of all, the money aspect. This kind of does not make sense, but we'll look into it. There are some things that make sense in this. Do you guys remember Chris Johnston and also Elliot Friedman both said, if the Leafs lose Zach Hyman and they end up losing Kerfoot, that's a lot of money that isn't coming back. That's 3.5 that Kerfoot has, and whatever Hyman would have made. Let's say just between 3 to 5 million, right? Which it's going to be more than that. And you're also losing Freddie Anderson's contract. That's a sizable amount of money. What Chris Johnston and Elliot Friedman both also said was that the Leafs were going to try to get the best player available that they could afford. Now, they could have roughly between $10 to $12 million in cap space to acquire a decent, top six forward and replace a spot on the bottom line. We'll get into it, a backup goaltender. There are options for this Toronto Maple Leafs team, but let's just start off where this kind of started, okay? So David Pagnotta said, if the $3.5 million is off the books, referring to Kerfoot, I will tell you that one player that they will look at and will definitely pursue if he is still unsigned by the 28th, and that's Colorado captain Gabe Landeskog. Several other teams are looking at Landeskog, but basically where this is coming from is that Landeskog has been quite unhappy with not getting a new contract from the Colorado Avalanche. And we'll look at their salary cap situation in a second, but Landeskog is their captain. He's been the captain since he was 19 years old. Like, I remember this, and I was like, whoa. Like, this guy's got a huge future with the Avs. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think the Leafs will kick tires if he makes it to free agency. But ultimately, I think that Landeskog and the Avalanche want to get a deal done. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure why it hasn't been done. But if there's a sizable gap when it comes to money and how much he wants, they've got a lot of cap space. They do have some guys to sign, some pretty important players. But man, how much does Landeskog want? Apparently, the rumors has it that he wants anywhere between $8.5 or $8 to $9 million. That's a lot of money per season, obviously. So at that number, the Leafs wouldn't be able to do it. But I will show you with an $8.5 million contract how it would look on the Leafs. But first, we're going to look at this. The 28-year-old forward is going to be an unrestricted free agent for the first time if he makes it to the July 28th free agency. Of course, he was selected number 2 in the 2011 NHL draft by the Avalanche. He thought this contract was going to be done 8 to 10 months ago, and he said, the uncertainty is something I've never dealt with. I've always known that come September or October, I'm going to pull on that Avs jersey. Now, let's move on to their salary cap. $23 million for a team that probably should have been in the Stanley Cup final this year. They have lots of money. They have all their picks here. They are set up to be very good, but Landeskog, Saad, both guys that were very good for them. Landeskog, obviously being the captain, should be priority number 1. They've got some good players here, like Yost, of course. They've got some guys on their back end, like Makar, that they have to deal with, and they've also got to deal with some goaltending stuff here. But this team has a few decent names that they got to sign, but Landeskog has got to be a guy that you really put your effort towards. Of course, Makar being an RFA, you definitely gotta get that contract going because he is absolutely fantastic. But him and Landeskog, man, how do you not get those contracts done with $23 million in cap space? There has to be more to this, because if Landeskog wants to be there and he's unhappy with them not signing him, like he's actively saying, I want to be here, I want to sign here, and they have all this cap space, how far apart are they? Because there's been reports that they are very far apart. And if the Leafs want to get involved in this, a lot of things have to go right for them. And by that I mean losing players. Is that the going right? Losing Hyman, losing Kerfoot, maybe signing a cheaper backup goaltender. Again, we'll look into it. But let's just take a look at Landeskog's former contract. Now, actually, I also want to show you guys, and this was interesting that the Steve Dangle podcast brought up. Are they looking at this Nathan MacKinnon deal and going, okay, this is the number we want you at, but what about Mikko Rantanen, right? So these deals here, he wants to be somewhere closer to the Rantanen deal rather than the MacKinnon deal. And by the way, boy, oh boy, MacKinnon's going to get a massive contract after this, but he's sitting kind of in the middle. Are they going to trade Nazem Kadri after, another disappointing suspension? Are they going to remove that 4.5? They do that. They're probably going to end up signing whoever they want to, but it's going to become very interesting. They have a lot of money, but let's get back to Landeskog here. Like I said, 28 years old. Obviously, that was his first contract. Then you come here, $5.5 million with the modified no trade clause. That contract is going to get very expensive. And like I said, it could be anywhere between 8 to 8.5 to 9 million, depending on what the rumors are saying. But this is the problem. A lot of contracts that were signed, and the Leafs are right in the thick of all of this. The Maple Leafs and other teams have signed some of their big name talents to big contracts, thinking that salary cap was going to go up with Seattle coming in and ESPN getting TV rights. So the salary cap could quite possibly be almost touching $88 to $90 million by now within the last 2 years. But now it's a flat cap. Before, it was supposed to go up to 84.5, and that was 2 years ago. So just imagine with a new TV deal plus a new NHL team coming in, it's probably 88 to 90 million. Any team that's having cap difficulty is probably has a little bit more breathing room. And teams would have been spending at the deadline a hell of a lot more. But guys like Landeskog, who are obviously fantastic hockey players, are not getting those contracts. Like, I just can't see Landeskog getting $9 million or 8.5. I think he's going to get 8, but I don't know. He's a fantastic hockey player. He plays with really talented players, but 52 points in 54 games played. He had 13 points in 10 playoff games. He also had 13 and 14 last year in the playoffs, with 44 points in 54 games the year previous as well. 75 and 73, obviously in bigger sample sizes. He's able to put up big points. He's a playoff producer. The guy does a bit of everything. If the Leafs or any team were able to pick this guy up, he makes an immediate impact. He's obviously going to play with really talented players. If he were to go to the Leafs, he'd be playing with Matthews and Marner. Could you imagine that line? So this is what I want to show you guys. And again, I am not sitting here saying that what David Pagnotta said is 100% accurate and whatever. I trust his opinion because he has broken stuff before, and he genuinely seems like he has legitimate sources to where it makes sense. And again, I will remind you, Chris Johnston and Elliot Friedman both said that the Toronto Maple Leafs were going to try as hard as they could to get the best players available to them. And if Landeskog is there on the open market, the Leafs would be stupid not to at least check in, okay? We have to remember, we are just people sitting here. For myself, I'm talking to a camera. You guys are watching me or watching anybody with actual sources like Freeman, LeBron Johnston, David Pagnotta, anybody like that, right? We're all just normal people. We don't have the sources. We don't have the inside scoop. We can say we know, but we don't. These guys have the legitimate sources. I'm just here to deliver whatever news I can and give my opinion. So let's just give an opinion without shooting people down for it, right? This is what it would look like, okay? 8.5 million dollars, let's say he gets from the Leafs on a 7-year deal. Robertson getting called up, playing big minutes in the top 6. You hold on to Mikheyev and Engvall, Spezza, Brooks, Simmons. You have $3.5 million to get a fourth liner and a backup goaltender. The Leafs could definitely roll with this lineup. This is, of course, losing Kerfoot to Seattle and Hyman not re-signing. Is this an upgrade over Hyman? Of course it is. No offense to Zach Hyman. I love him. But Landeskog is a star. He's an absolute star. You get Landeskog, your team is much better. You have a dynamite first line. You have still basically the same second line. But the other thing the Leafs could do, and actually I was just thinking of this. Let's look at this, right? Let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs go to Galchenyuk. Definitely not 8.5. And they give him a nice little 1.2 2-year deal, right? Now all of a sudden, you could do this. Does that make sense to you guys? And then spend $1.5 million or $2 million on a backup goaltender? To me, this would work. And again, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but imagine. And again, if you guys want to know more about this, about accumulating cap space, let's say the Leafs, like I said, get a $2 million goaltender. That would leave them with $358,000 in cap space. Over the season, they can accumulate that money and towards the NHL trade deadline. And if you want to watch more in depth, go to Downtown Stephen Brown Sports, Downtown Sports. Go to his channel. He talks about the math and the calculations about the salary cap going towards the NHL trade deadline. If you accumulate money throughout the season, there's a way for the Leafs to get contracts at half retained or double retained, and they can still add at the deadline. Are you happy with rolling back a similar team, but upgrading with Landeskog? That's the question. Because the Leafs could spend $4 million on a couple different forwards and, have a little bit of depth here. But are you hoping Nick Robertson brings you 10 to 15 goals? It's possible. Are you hoping Galchenyuk plays the same way he did with Tavares and Nylander for a full season? You'd hope so. Is Landeskog definitely an upgrade over Hyman? Yes. Are you trusting Dermott and Sandin on that bottom pairing? You would hope so. It's all about trying to get good depth and good players. If the Leafs sign Landeskog, I would be pumped. But if they don't, I will not be. To me, Landeskog is one of those guys where it's like a far and away chance. But I have to make a video on it and show you what it would kind of look like, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this was just kind of fantasy booking again, but if there's people on Sportsnet telling me that there's a chance that the Leafs would look at a player like this, I would be ignorant not to at least attempt to understand and make a video about it. So thank you guys for watching. If you are new, make sure to like this video and subscribe. I have some really cool videos coming up that you guys will definitely be interested in. So make sure to like and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys as always. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.